man's best friend has always been thought to be a dog, right?
Yeah.
It's not anymore.
What is it now?
Man's best friend is a goat. No, it is.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the Two Mikes on TalkSport. We're on the warm-up, of course. The Porky Jinx is in full effect early today. Mr Parry has predicted 3 results that will shake up the sporting world this weekend. He reckons Klitschko, Everton and Spurs will all win. I reckon he'll be lucky if even one of those comes true. 08717 22 3344. We'll be hearing all the team news ahead of all the football this afternoon in the Premier League and elsewhere. Coming up, we're heading north of the border with Stuart Weir ahead of the 6th Old Firm clash of the season. We'll have a 1-minute moan and we'll bring you all the usual award-winning journalism stuff as well. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mikes on the warm-up. It's a very, very busy weekend of sport. We've got the big fight coming up tonight, of course, at Wembley as well. It's time to say very good morning to Mr Mike, a Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike. And what a morning it was this morning. It was a beautiful morning.
Absolutely.
So there I am, down at the ponds in Stockbroker Belt, Surrey.
Any particular ponds?
I don't want to go into that.
Really?
You know, it's...
Why don't you take a picture of these little jaunts that you make?
But I do all the time.
I've
And
never
people
seen
always
any.
say I've never seen a picture. And I keep putting out pictures of the ducks that I go out and
Did you put
feed.
it out this morning?
No, but I don't every morning.
I see.
You know, I don't like to traumatise them because, you know, they need their privacy.
Surely seeing you's trauma enough, isn't it?
No, they when they see my car coming over the hill, their little wings flap and all that because they know good times are ahead. But you won't believe it. As I was feeding the ducks this morning and I was just staring out over the ponds and
the ponds.
There was a mist lying.
Which shall remain nameless.
There was a mist lying there,
Was
you
there?
know, the gas coming off the fields.
Gas?
And, well, you know, it emanates gas.
Not gas.
No, grass. It
Grass,
is.
gas.
Grass
It's
gas,
not
yeah.
gas.
Of course it is.
No, it's just mist, isn't it?
No. The mist combines with the combination of an early hot sun with the overnight dew and the gases that come out of grass on the
Are you
misty
sure it's not
surrounds.
just the moisture which is released because of the difference in temperature between the air and the ground?
I just told you that.
That's not what you said.
I did, because the dew on the grass,
No,
that's
you
on the
said
grass is on
grass.
the ground.
Grass.
Anyway, as it happened...
I think you've been on the
up,
grass. I think that's your
No.
problem.
As it came up and the winds and the clouds were swirling, it was like a vision. I saw what was going to happen. I saw...
Well, was this surely before you passed out?
No. I saw the emergence of what looked like a fist, you know, and I thought that's a sign about tonight's fight.
Oh, yeah.
Klitschko, you know.
Klitschko,
yeah. And then
because Anthony Joshua's fist is on the back of one of the papers today. Have you compared the size of your fist to it?
No, I wouldn't want to, really.
Why not?
Well, it's a long comparison. I'm not a professional boxer. So I saw that, and then, believe it or not, then it swirled around. It turned to the shape of a football, and I thought, wow, it's a vision.
You definitely were hallucinating.
No. Everton are going to beat
Chelsea.
Chelsea.
On a strong drink last night.
Everton going to beat Chelsea, and then, believe it or not, a second football came up, and I thought, wow, that's
was it a football the kind
Spurs.
like which you see people playing Premier League football with?
Well, it was the same shape.
Yeah.
But it's not just a version. I'll tell you why. Look,
Yes.
I have been reading over the weekend about Kell Brook's trainer, a guy called Dominic Ingle, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And he's a man who's well read, and he says, I'm not convinced, as many people seem to be, that Anthony Joshua will blast through Vladimir Klitschko if you're basing it purely...
Klitschko?
Yeah, if you're basing it purely on the Tyson-Fury fight. He said it was completely misleading as to what Klitschko's all about.
But the point about Klitschko is, right, that he's getting on a bit, right? He's a lot older than Anthony Joshua. I'm not saying that he's got no chance at all, because he's a very good fighter, but he was completely flummoxed by Tyson Fury, who shouldn't have been able to flummox him, because he's a man of great experience, and nobody would have believed that could happen.
He admits that, you know, the mind games thing, you're wrong, because apparently Tyson Fury, when we all knew this, but I'm just recapping, you know, kept switching from, you know, a conventional style to southpaw and back again, and Klitschko sort of was all over the place.
Yeah.
But he says he's got that sort if anybody tries that on him again, and he thinks, you know, I just think, personally, that Anthony Joshua has just taken this fight a little bit too soon.
Right. Well, there would be people that would agree with that. I'm going the other way. I'm going with Mike Tyson on this. Mike Tyson says that he thinks that young Joshua is a little bit like George Foreman.
Yep.
He's got a big punch, and he's very movable, very sort of mobile, and quite an exciting fighter to watch. He's not ruling out Klitschko, but he says he thinks that it's going to be Joshua's night.
There's some
So I'm going
fantastic
with Mike
stats
Tyson.
around this fight, isn't there? Klitschko last stopped in 2004, was it?
Something like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
he's
right.
only been stopped, I think, once.
Yes, Yes, exactly, something like that.
Well, we had the boxing quiz on Friday's show.
Yes, we
where
did.
I think we revealed that there was something like 54 knockouts he's had.
Something like
out
that,
of the
yeah.
63 fights that
That's
he's
right.
been involved in.
That's
68 fights or something like
so,
that. So, I mean,
and-
it's a bit of a mismatch in some ways. You know, one man is much older than the other.
Yeah.
Another, one has had many more fights. Joshua's only had, 19, is it?
Yes.
And, it's going to be an absolute... I mean, they're calling it the biggest fight in British boxing history.
and
you'd have to say it is, right?
Yes, definitely. And everybody says the longer it goes on, the more the odds will move towards Klitschko, because that's what he's good at. Putting him down will be the only way to stop him.
Well, we shall see.
Yeah,
we shall see. I think Joshua has yet to fulfil his potential, and I'm going with him.
Yes.
So the second part of your trident of
Chelsea,
of tips
Everton.
is Chelsea and Everton.
Yeah.
That's a game tomorrow, of course, up at Goodison Park.
Yeah.
Your team, Everton, trying to put the mockers on Chelsea.
I think
Stretching
they will.
their lead at the top.
I think they will. I mean, we are still very sore about the 5-0 drubbing we got before Christmas, and I was there at Stamford Bridge. That was very painful. Only time I've ever left a game before the final whistle that Everton have been playing in, because it was just
Well,
too
you
painful.
weren't the only one. I think most Everton fans had gone by the last 20 minutes.
That is absolutely true.
Yeah.
But I see Everton pulling this one off, and I know this might be a perverse reason for Lukaku being his best. But if it's true that he wants to go back to Chelsea, as you know, I read, for instance, in the Daily Telegraph this morning, Matt Law, a terrifically able sports correspondent for the Telegraph. What's your problem?
Why do you need to sort of over-egg this guy's reputation?
Because these boys are in my blood.
Well,
this is where
you
I
say
came
that.
from.
You
The
say that.
Fleet Street ink
But
and
just
paper.
let's examine how you described him and how you damned him with faint praise. Terrifically able.
Yeah.
I mean, what does that mean?
Well,
does that mean he can do his job
No.
barely?
No.
Just about.
It means that, after a magnificent career in Fleet Street, I don't use cliches like, a brilliant writer. So I think magnificently able is very good.
Magnificently able. If I described you as magnificently able, I think you'd take that as an insult.
No, I wouldn't know.
Really? Okay.
No,
All right.
no.
Well,
I would
that.
say you were bucking up with your use of English. But anyway,
right.
He says Everton striker faces the former club where he's always set his heart on being a success. If that's the case, the thing he wants to put into Mr. Conte's mind when he leaves the pitch is, you need me, buddy. And that could be because he's just scored a hat-trick. I think Everton's motivation, it may be for the wrong reasons if he wants to go back to Chelsea, but Everton's motivation to do it, and their track record of 8 consecutive
They've certainly got a
victories,
fantastic home record.
I think it's wonderful, and I don't know anybody who thinks that Arsenal could do Spurs in.
Yeah, but I mean, you said the same
tomorrow.
last weekend when you said you didn't think anyone believed that Arsenal could beat Manchester City in the FA Cup semi-final, which they then did.
They did,
and of course, as
Cup
we
game,
know,
Cup game.
it's a cup game, but this is a North London derby, which doesn't actually take into account at all any sort of form. So it'll be a fascinating afternoon tomorrow, particularly.
Yes.
And of course, the Chelsea-Everton game is live on TalkSport, but there's lots more to talk about as well. But let me read you a few tweets that we've got here. Here's one from Pete. He said, "There's only one thing emitting gas this morning, and that's the big man Porky."
Oh, that's nice.
Here's one from Tony. Porky the Plank. I tipped AK in the help section. I don't know where to put my money now.
AK in the help section?
Yeah, I don't know who AK is.
AK.
Does he mean Vladimir Klitschko, or does he mean Anthony Joshua? A is for Anthony, K is for Klitschko.
I don't know, mate.
No
we'll
idea.
have to pass on that one.
And Pete says, I think we need Porky tested for nefarious substances. He seems a bit weirder than normal this morning.
Hey, listen, come off it. I was up and about very early. It's the great thing about the lighter mornings is it makes it easier to identify where the ducks are.
Hey, I'll tell you what.
Don't have to use my torch.
Do you know we were talking just the other day about roadkill, and you were telling me about how the A303 is the worst place in Britain for it, right?
Yes.
You know what happened to me when I was driving down yesterday morning?
No.
I was coming down. There's a bit of a hill just
But hang
before
on, you weren't on the A303?
No, I wasn't. No.
I was to Sussex?
I was on the A21.
Right, okay.
And just as you come down towards a place called Robertsbridge, which is not far from where old Lady McCartney used to live.
That's right, and there's a nice pub there, isn't there?
There's a couple of nice pubs,
road
actually.
there,
Yeah, not bad. But it was very early in the morning, so
Right.
there was no question of going to the pub.
Okay.
There was a lorry in front of me. I noticed the lorry sort of swerving out into the middle of the road, right?
Avoiding
something that was on the inside of the left-hand side of the road.
Yes.
And as I got up to what it was a goat.
A goat?
A goat.
Had been knocked down?
Which had been knocked over.
It was a solid whole goat?
A whole goat.
Oh, golly.
It was massive.
Oh, dear. Somebody's going to run over that.
It was terribly sad. I mean, I came back up that same way this morning and it had gone.
Well, did you stop and deal with it?
No.
You have a duty as a motorist to deal with a dead goat on the road.
Dead goat?
Yes.
Where's that in the highway code?
Well,
tell me where
I'm
that
telling
says
you,
if you see a dead goat on the road, you have to stop.
Yes, and sort it out. You either ring the police.
Where does it say that?
Ring a local
the
vet.
goat helpline?
No, I'm telling you, you should have stopped your car.
Yeah.
You should have got out. You should have
Well,
got
that
hold
would
of
have
the
caused an
front
accident.
legs and No,
got hold of the front legs.
Excuse me, I thought you had the world's best car. It doesn't have flasher lights, to warn people of a hazard.
Well, it doesn't.
You should have parked that behind the goat.
It doesn't have the ability to pick up a goat.
You should have then got out and you should have secured the front two legs of the goat with your right hand.
Well, tied it to the radiator.
No, the back two legs, and you should have removed it from the public highway.
Hunter.
We all have an obligation.
It's not my job to do that.
It may not be written down in the highway code.
So it's not in the highway code.
But if you're any kind of a person with a conscience, how could you pass that poor goat that's already just dead?
Well, I mean,
and died
that's
and
what
gone
I paid
to
my
heaven
council
and leave
tax
its
for.
carcass lying in the road.
That's what I paid. That's what I paid the council taxes for. Anyway, look at the time. We haven't got any more time to talk about goats. Greatest of all time is what GOAT stands for, of course, in the boxing world.
Yeah.
Anthony Joshua may become that tonight. I got a great tweet here from Stephen.
Great.
Right, he said he watched a documentary last night about a small bearded man with a crazy idea about the world.
Oh, yeah.
And an obsession with the Beatles.
Really?
But it wasn't about you.
Who was it?
It was about Charles Manson.
That's ridiculous. You find that funny?
I do.
Somebody's comparing me to one of the America's most notorious mass murderers.
It's also been suggested by somebody else that you forgot he was also a narcissist.
A narcissist.
And the Manson family have much in common with the Porky tribe.
Oh, yeah, why is that? We don't go around, butchering people.
No, of course. Yeah. Well, you don't have to make too much of it.
Yeah, it's disgraceful. By the way, in the last 24, 36 hours, Davy Moyes seems to have changed his sort of, his take on whether he'll be at Sunderland next season or not. Yeah.
What's he saying now, then?
Well, he's kind of saying he'd everybody is saying he's giving out the noises, in the battle to stave off relegation, that whatever happens, he'll be here next season. I've never seen any direct quotes from Davey saying that, but now they're saying that the message coming out now is, well, of course, when the season's over, I'll be sitting down with the owners.
Oh, yeah.
And that normally means the get-out clause is they won't give me enough money to rebuild the squad.
That's
what I mean?
Well, I mean, would David Moyes do what Rafa Benitez did and continue to stay with Sunderland in the Championship? Do you think he thinks he's too good for that?
No, I think he thinks that he's not going to get the support he needs to provide the funds to get them back up. Sunderland are different to Newcastle. Newcastle have a persuasion built on their heritage and their history, and I think Mr. Ashley found that difficult to ignore.
Yeah, but Sunderland have been in the Premier League
with their boss.
No, but they've been in the Premier League for 10 years, right?
They have, but their boss is an American, so
I understand
he's not subject
but
to the same commercial pressures.
I know that you have a fondness for David Moyes, and I think he is a nice guy, but I think he's quite, I would say, sure of himself. Yeah. And I think that he, in his own mind, does not see himself as a Championship manager.
No, I don't blame him for that, because, his track record is...
Well, Rafa Benitez doesn't have a problem with it.
Well, yeah, but Rafa Benitez knew that by taking the job of he took the job in the Premiership, remember?
Yeah.
Went down, he brought it back, but he knew he would have the facilities to bring it back.
Well, anyway,
David Moyes has got nothing like the same commitment. Been given the same commitment.
Two very interesting characters. Let's talk to Stuart Weir, who's up in Scotland, of course, who is the master of time, space and dimension now, including being editor-in-chief of the sporting sections of the Herald newspaper in Scotland.
Is he really?
Stuart, very good morning to you.
Hi, Stu.
I think I got the title right, didn't I?
It's head of sport.
Head of sport.
Head of sport. Blimey, Stu, and you've got time to come on our little show. It's very good of you.
Our little show.
My contract.
Yeah, exactly.
You remind me of that woman who used to come at the end of the Morecambe Wise show.
That's right,
watching my little show.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, before we go, I'm going to ask you about David Moyes in a minute, Stuart.
Yeah.
But as you know, we were in attendance at the last Old Firm game, which was only last Sunday.
It hadn't been noticed at all in these areas.
Yeah, I don't know whether you saw that we managed to get a very nice lift up to Hampden with Rod Stewart's private jet.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
I don't like talking about it, by the way,
No,
Stu.
we don't like to mention it.
No,
I know. It's the fact that social media is absolutely emblazoned with you standing at the side of this Learjet with your good pal Rod.
Yes.
Well, I mean, look, that's only politeness, really. I mean, these things have to be done, you know what I mean?
More disturbing than that, really, were the publications, without our blessing, of pictures of us sitting at Hampden looking very, very miserable. And I can't remember why we were looking so miserable,
and about,
to be honest.
And about 6 seats away from Rod Stewart.
Yeah, well, that's right.
That's right, yeah. But no, it was terrific, and I just have to say, before going any further, Sir Rod is a true gentleman. But what happened on the pitch told a story of how difficult it's going to be for Rangers to ever get back into contention.
Yeah, absolutely. The gulf is enormous, and last week only typified that. Celtic, they're unbeaten this season, and at no time last weekend did Rangers ever show any signs of ending that run, and they'll be hard-pressed today to get any kind of result as well, even though the game is at Ibrox. Pedro Caixinha has made 3 changes to the team that started last week. He's brought back Clint Hill in central defence. He starts Josh Windass and Joe Dodu up front. Out goes David Bates. Andy Halliday, who was lucky to survive 3 minutes after trying to put young Mr. Roberts into the stand.
Sure.
And Barry Mackay. So Celtic only the one change. Lee Griffiths obviously coming in for the injured Moussa Dembele. But Rangers have had 5 attempts this season at beating Celtic, twice in cup competitions and 3 times in the league. And the best they've come up with was a draw last time in the league at Celtic Park. So, as I say, this is a chance that, 6th time lucky perhaps, but even at that, you still fancy Celtic to take the points at Ibrox.
I'll tell you what I found amazing this morning was looking at some of the back pages up there. Kenny Miller, who's now 37, who had his first shot on goal last Sunday at about sort of 35 minutes into the first half, and he put it way over the bar. He's signed a new contract.
Yeah, well, when you're Rangers' best player this season, that's the kind of deal you can look forward to. To be honest, if there are players coming in this summer, they will need somebody to, if you like, even show them the ropes at Rangers. And Kenny Miller is a born winner. He goes back to the time when Rangers were winning titles and trophies and the like. So he knows what it's about. He's an experienced campaigner, both for Rangers and, I dare say, Celtic and for Scotland. He is a model professional, and you really would want someone like that in your dressing room if you're starting to introduce new players for next season.
I know. But the way that things are going for Rangers, Stu, you kind of, wonder whether when Celtic was celebrating getting to another cup final last Sunday evening, the Rangers players were at the Player of the Year dinner, which Mike Graham mischievously said should have been cancelled because there wasn't one.
Yeah.
And you get the feeling that a bit later on, when a few of the pictures were published of the Rangers boys, that might have been the time that Kenny Miller struck with the new contract deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
These sort of things happen. Now, Stu...
Is that not a question then?
Sorry? It was an observation.
Just a statement. See, the terrible thing about this guy, Stuart, we get you on as a guest and he just talks all the time. You don't get any opportunity to answer any questions.
No, it was an observation, Stu, born of years and years of experience. Now, Stu, I want to ask you about Davy Moyes. Davy Moyes is a former Celtic player. He has been in contention for the Celtic job at various times. What do you believe his future holds now that Sunderland are obviously going to be relegated to the Championship, and I don't think he wants to manage in that league?
Yeah, well, there's nobody coming anywhere near Celtic, that's for sure.
Well, you don't know that, do you? Because is Brendan Rodgers definitely nailed on for next season?
Well, he's just signed a new contract.
It doesn't matter. They sign contracts, so they're more valuable to the club if the manager gets an offer he can't refuse.
If David Moyes was going to get any job anywhere near Scotland in the next 12 months, I would suggest it probably as the Scotland international manager once Gordon Strachan makes sure that we don't qualify for yet another World Cup.
To be fair, we met Gordon last weekend.
And he said the very same thing.
And he said, you might be seeing me in, because we said, we'll see you up here, it's June the 10th. He said, he said, I might be in here rather than down on the pitch, by the time half-time's reached him.
Yeah, he was very funny. I said, we'll be looking at the back of your head, of course. You'll be in the technical area.
Yeah.
He said, no, son, you might be looking at the front of my head. I might be standing here next to you at the bar. Yeah.
Yes. All joking aside, the game in June when Scotland face England on June the 10th at Hampden is really make or break. Unless we take something from that, there is no way we're going anywhere near Russia for a World Cup.
Yeah.
Would David Moyes fit the bill? Yeah, probably, because by that time he's probably he's going to be unemployed, and given that the SFA do most of their shopping at the local job centre, when it comes to important positions, he'd have every chance of landing that job.
Well, I mean, who knows where he's going to end up? But I think, as I've said, I don't believe that he thinks of himself as a Championship manager. Yeah. So I think he'll be looking to get out.
He could well do.
Yeah.
Stu, if you wanted to look south, what do you think is going to happen tomorrow? Because my predictions for this weekend, which you obviously know about, because your ears glued to this show all the time, I say Klitschko tonight, then I say Chelsea tomorrow lunchtime and Spurs tomorrow afternoon.
I wasn't feeling the Klitschko one might actually...
Sorry, I said Chelsea. I mean Everton. I'm awfully sorry. I say Everton are going to win against Chelsea.
You stuck your colours to the mast there. We all know what you were thinking. Yeah, okay, Chelsea it is, and I'll go for Joshua later on.
Yeah, quite right.
Really?
So very wise. Yeah. Stuart, of course, a man that knows an awful lot about the sports business, because he is now head of sport up there in the Herald.
That's a huge job, that.
That is a big job.
Big job.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics on the warm-up. Loads coming up. Of course, Adrian Durham taking over from us at 1 o'clock with Matchday Live. Lots of big games this afternoon.
Sure.
Can I just give you a piece of advice?
Please.
You know Tim Vine's a big fan of the show.
Yes.
He's been listening to the show.
Yes.
And he wants to pick you up on your incorrect usage of a word from the English language.
Yes.
Which, of course, is profligate.
Yes, that's right.
Because you said that Everton have been very profligate.
Yeah, I know.
He says, please tell Porky that profligate means wasteful.
I know.
He used it in the wrong context.
I certainly did, and Tim, I want to thank you ever so much, please, for picking me up on that bit of English language that I got wrong there. You know, I'm a boy from the King's School, Chester. I'm very well educated. In a split second,
which makes it even more unforgivable.
In a split second, I just profligate, of course, means waste. I know all about that because I don't waste anything in life, Tim. But thank you very much indeed.
There's another sign for you.
Yes.
Beware of the goat.
Beware of the goat.
Do you think that's on the A303 as well?
No, I think it was on the wall of that pub that they went to at the start of American Werewolf in London, wasn't it? You know, when they got in there
very
at the start.
possibly, yeah.
Listen, can I just say, by the way, sorry, we've just done the old bet safe stuff, and the charity I support is Main Chance, the charity down in Surrey which
very
looks
fine
after
charity
horses.
it is,
very
too.
fine, run by Jenny Seagrove, the wonderful actress.
Yeah.
She's got a film out at the moment.
Oh, is she?
Yes, doing very well. Another mother's son. And can I just say that they're having a soccer clinic, you know, to raise money for things, and it's on Monday, and it's Sammy Lee is going to head it up. He's now the assistant manager and coach at Crystal Palace to Big Sam. And it's at Merristwood College, Guildford.
Right.
And it's for kids. It's on Bank Holiday Monday. And if you want to know more about that and you want to take your children along, girls and boys, get involved, have a look, please, at www.mainchancesanctuary.forward/soccer.
/soccer.
Yeah, I better say
Why
that
don't you
again.
do that again?
www.mainchancesanctuary.org/soccer.
There you go.
Thank you.
Very good. Now, Jane says this. What's up with Porky? Has he been on the Red Bull or the Benelin shots again? He's all over the place. #wired.
No, I'm not all over the place. Listen.
Matthew says this. Deep down, Porky doesn't really believe Everton will win, which is why he keeps saying Chelsea by mistake.
Well, I have to say, I do have a deep obsession with the game. I was going to go, but I can't go now.
Right.
It's just a family situation, which I have to sort out because it's that time of the year.
But also, I mean, I think you and I both, towards the end of last week, have completely forgotten this is a bank holiday weekend.
I did.
And bank holiday weekends are notoriously difficult to travel.
It's notoriously difficult to travel, particularly the getting back bit on Monday. But you know, you do have family obligations, and I don't spend enough time with my family, so I
think they think you spend plenty of time.
Well, they probably do, but it's a big football day.
You're going to be getting the automatic awning out.
The automatic awning will come out if the sun shines too bright in my eyes, and we'll be watching it obviously on the goggle box.
Barbecue time.
Might be a bit of barbecue going on.
Really?
Definitely.
Do you know, I haven't had one yet this season.
Well, it's not been warm enough.
Well, it was almost warm enough. A weekend before last, I think it was. But then it started raining, and you know, it just hasn't. I haven't fired it up yet.
Not good at all. Listen, I've been reading some extracts from a fascinating new book which has come out, and it's quite genius, and it's about Bob Paisley.
Right.
And do you know what? It is absolutely incredible how he did it. Not you know, that he had the talent and all that, but how he ever got the job in the first place. When Bill Shankly left, because he was Bill Shankly's deputy for a decade.
Yes.
He didn't even want the job. He went to the people who were running the club then and said, not me. I'll do it as a caretaker basis, but I don't want it.
Right.
Half the dressing room, which had some of the world's greatest footballs, like Alan Hansen, you know, and Terry McDermott,
Kenny
Dalglish, and all these sort of people, they didn't think he was up to the job.
Really?
In the early days.
I mean, what was his role under... I mean, I know when you can tell me he was sort of Shankly's deputy.
Yes.
But was he the guy that sort of... I mean,
he was the motivator.
He was the motivator.
He was the sort of motivator. He's a very quietly spoken man, but apparently he was brilliant at spotting tactical awareness situations, you know, where the players could best fit in. And when I say motivator, I don't mean, you know, by, you know, thumping his fist in their face and all that, but telling them how good they were if they did this and that and the rest. But I mean, it's amazing. I didn't know that, and I never noticed it, that Bob Paisley had a distinct limp from a football injury when he was a player, and the players used to walk around limping to mock him and berate him, and they thought he talked so quietly that he didn't inspire anybody to do things. They didn't think he could do it. And in his first season, they lost the league, I think, on goal difference or something like that.
Yeah.
And everybody thought he was going to go and they're going to bring somebody else in.
I mean, it's interesting that you wonder whether in this day and age somebody with his type of personality would get the job, you know, because it's more about sometimes what you look like in front of the house.
That's right.
And in front of the camera and how you deal with that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, even Bill Shankly apparently was, you know, contemptuous of making him the manager when he left. He never thought it would happen, and actually said to the players, well, OK, so he's had a bit of a success, but I could have left a monkey in charge. And I think the early part of the book, the bits I've read, basically say that the team was handed over to Bob Paisley. He didn't have to do anything, just tell them to go out. And it was the greatest ever situation in which a group of players actually took control of their own club.
Sure.
And that's how they became so good.
Well, you do wonder about these stories, though, don't you? Because people have said the same thing about Barcelona, that, basically the team was so brilliant that, anyone could have managed them. But that hasn't actually proved to be the case because, they're still chasing Real Madrid, but they're out of the Champions League.
Yes.
Despite having the three probably best, the front line in the world.
Yeah.
They can't score goals against Juventus. So I think it's wrong when people say, oh, anyone could have managed it or the players managed themselves.
That's
right.
right.
You always need a manager.
That's right. And of course, he felt most uncomfortable in the clashes with Brian Clough.
Yeah.
Because as quiet as Bob Paisley was and as deep thinking and, keeping my powder dry type attitude he had, Brian Clough, of course, was exactly the opposite.
And for him as well, that was probably deliberate so that you would sort of noise him up, right, and make him feel uneasy, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe. But do you remember that really we got to be told about how good Forest were going to be when they won the league.
Yeah.
Then they went to Liverpool in I think it was the first round of the European Cup. They got drawn against each other.
Yeah.
And Forest took Liverpool, and that was a huge shock, not just to Liverpool, but to Europe, to Nottingham Forest and to everybody else. But it was the first of two European Cups that Forest won.
A couple of remarks for you from Joe, who says, Porky's clearly lost his head. Joshua will destroy Klitschko. Chelsea will destroy Everton.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm sticking with what I'm saying. Klitschko to win, Everton to beat Chelsea, Spurs to beat Arsenal. Right?
Yes, well, you keep saying it, but it doesn't mean
it's
going to happen.
A lot of people are
just because
backing
you keep
me.
repeating it. Now, a
lot of people are backing me.
What you might regard as juice heads have decided to fill up betting slips and put them on Twitter and show that they've copied
that's what I'm saying.
How about this one from Scott? I quite like this. This is a bit of a jape.
Yeah.
It was basically Burnley have signed unknown talent Jose Bartolola. Right, and they've just shown this picture of Jerry Barton in disguise, trying to get himself a game, which is very good, with a sort of Mexican Zapata-style moustache.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's all happening down in the lower regions of the leagues, isn't it?
Well, it is actually, yeah. And I mean, we might talk about this coming up a little bit later on.
Indeed.
Well, I see what I'm interested in, though, is Millwall, which is, of course, my local team, as you know, who I campaigned for to make sure they didn't get kicked out of South London, which you were terribly upset by because they did very well in the FA Cup.
Talk about the bandwagon jumper.
Not at all. They are currently in playoff position, and of course the final game's coming up tomorrow. Bristol Rovers away for Millwall, midday kickoff. If they can get themselves some points there, they are going to be in the playoffs, which means they could come back up to the Championship.
That's right.
And so could Fleetwood Town.
And one of my local teams, Tranmere Rovers, could get back into the league.
Yes.
They, by the way, nobody noticed, they tracked Lincoln City all the way this season because Lincoln City were the poster boy team from the non-league because of their fantastic cup run and their two brothers who run their league. But Tranmere tracked them all the way, although they didn't overcome them at the end, and they're 6 points behind them going into the final game.
Yeah, absolutely right. So some exciting times coming up down the leagues as well.
You were always on my mind. You were always on my mind. And maybe I didn't hold you all those lonely, lonely times. And I guess I never told you.
Big Willie Nelson fan, are you?
No.
No,
I think he's.
Why have you asked for this to be played?
I didn't. I mentioned to somebody. I said, by the way, that bedraggled old beatnik, who always looks like he's sort of half dead. Stands on a stage and wails.
Do you know he's got his own bespoke line of marijuana now?
Oh, is it?
For sale in Colorado, where it's legal.
Is that for his personal use or for medicinal purposes?
No, for selling.
For selling.
He sells it.
Use,
he's endorsed his own line.
I have never seen the attraction of Willie Nelson all my life. When you and I used to live in America, the 80s and 90s, and people would go, got to rush home for a Willie Nelson special on the telly. I've never seen it.
Well, he's been around a long time.
Never seen it.
He's been around a long time. He's played with an awful lot of great musicians over the years, and he's recorded some of the best songs of that sort of particular genre.
Yeah, but I mean, that's somebody's other song. He's covering the song.
Well, this is an Elvis song, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an Elvis song. So why is he singing Elvis songs? If he's got some great songs of his own, and I've never heard a great Willie Nelson song, by the way.
Well, lots of bands do other people's songs.
Yeah, yeah, okay, but the best ones come out with their own great songs as well.
Well, he does versions of all sorts of different songs.
Yeah, okay, you say that.
He does America the Beautiful rather well, actually.
America the Beautiful, yeah. Really?
He does that rather well, yeah.
Well, why would I want to listen to Willie Nelson singing America the Beautiful?
Well, I mean, everybody knows you have no taste in music,
Hey, listen,
so I mean,
a bit of drama.
surprised.
Bit of drama up at Ibrox.
Why is there a bit of drama? Is there a penalty
taking
already?
place.
Yeah, well, it's a penalty to whom? Are you going to tell everyone?
Yeah, it's a
Or are you
Celtic
just going to
penalty.
keep it like a mystery?
It's a Celtic penalty.
It's a Celtic penalty. Who's taking it? It looks like Scott Sinclair's taking
Sinclair is taking it.
Oh, he made a little dummy.
He scored.
It's 1-0.
It's 1-0.
1-0 to Celtic.
Yeah.
Well,
Listen,
I think that's the way it's going to finish.
Yeah, well, it could do. Now, talking about, I said he's a bedraggled old hippie.
Yeah.
Now, in a few weeks' time,
Yes.
right, without saying too much,
Yeah.
we're going to take a couple of days off, aren't we? Because we have things to do. You know, just let the audience
Well, I don't know
know.
where you're going with this.
Well, what
Why
I'm
do you
doing
have to
with this
reveal everything about what we do before we do it?
Well, no, it's because there's a plan underway. Now, what I'm thinking is, guess what I would love to do for those 2 or 3 days?
What?
Because this would be a life ambition.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I missed being a hippie, right? Because I was too young, obviously.
Too young?
Yeah.
Well, you weren't that much younger, though, were you?
Well,
You
I
could
was
have been a
too. I was
hippie.
too young to be a hippie.
Yeah.
Now, for a month, in a couple of weeks' time, San Francisco is celebrating 50 years of the Summer of Love.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because it was 50 years ago.
Yes.
Right, Haight-Ashbury and all that.
Haight-Ashbury.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Have you ever been to Haight-Ashbury?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Have you?
Yes, I have.
Stand
yeah.
on the corner.
Yes, I have. Yeah, I've seen the road sign. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Because I would love to go there.
Yeah.
Get off the plane in San Francisco. Buy myself a caftan.
Yeah.
Grow my hair long. A caftan.
A caftan.
A caftan.
Not a caftan.
Well, a caftan.
This is your captain speaking.
That's right. Yeah. Grow my hair long and then
Yeah.
get down to Haight-Ashbury and
Well, you look a bit like Jerry Garcia.
and get down with the hippies.
You do look a bit like Jerry Garcia.
Just imagine being a hippie in your, in middle age rather than being a
but
hippie
you
when
have
you're a
no,
teenager.
You have no redeeming qualities that the hippies have.
I do.
For example, you
Yeah.
don't believe in loving your neighbour.
I do believe
really.
in peace
no,
and love.
No, you don't. You hate everybody. I mean, that's your
not true.
Haight-Ashbury if you spell H-A-T-E. I hate Ashbury.
No, that's not true.
You
But
do.
Can you imagine all these hippies are coming from all over the world?
There's no such thing as free love, right?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. There would be. That we'd reintroduce free
I
love
think
for
you'd
a
be better
month.
off. You know where I think you should go?
Where?
Go down to Melbourne instead, where they're having the 2nd annual Ginger Rally. Why don't you head down there?
What would I want to go there
Because you've
for?
got ginger hair, right? The Red and Nearly Ginger
ridiculous.
Association, right, has started the 2nd rally, and it's actually going on this weekend, so you might miss it if you wait too long.
There's nothing different about red-haired people.
Well, people
right?
who have got red hair seem to think there is something
Well, I
different.
don't, and I think to point them out is discrimination on a big scale.
Well, no,
and I
they've
don't
got,
like it.
And you know what they're doing? They're giving away free ginger beer. How
Oh,
about
really?
that?
3 ginger beer.
And they're having games of ginger beer pong
Yeah.
and ginger speed dating.
Hey, can you imagine you as a hippie, by the way? You'd
Well,
you'd
I've got
look
more
like-
in common with
you'd look
hippies
like
than you have.
Demi Roussos, you would.
Demi
Demi
Do you mean
Roussos.
Demis Roussos?
Yeah,
He's dead, you know.
I know he's dead, yeah, but
Well, I don't look anything like him.
you'd be reincarnated. Or, actually, you
Yeah.
look more like Mama Cass.
Mama Cass. She
And
choked-
everybody's
did she not-
getting fat,
did she
except
not,
Mama Cass.
Did she not choke on a chicken sandwich?
Yeah, she did, actually, yeah.
Strangely enough.
Yeah, strange. But you remember the guy we used to work with at Express, Peter Hardy?
Yeah.
He was an Oxford graduate.
Was he the guy that ended up doing all the skiing stuff?
Yeah, he did, actually,
Yeah.
when he got booted out of Fleet Street
Yeah.
because, you know...
I ended up doing some stuff. I think I did a couple
I'm
of
sure you
travel
would have
pieces
done.
for one of his books.
From Colorado or something.
Something like that,
I'm sure
yeah.
you would have done.
I think it's quite a successful business he ran.
Oh, no, I'm sure he did very well. Peter
Yeah.
was a bright guy. He only had one eye.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
that's the same guy, yeah.
Yeah, he only had one eye, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know why, but he had one
Well,
eye.
he probably had some kind of accident.
Must have done, I suppose, yeah. Well, you don't usually have an eye taken out, do you, for fun? You
Well,
know,
some
so
people.
of course it was an accident.
No, he may have been born with one eye.
Oh, maybe, I suppose, yeah.
So, you know, before you start mocking the guy,
No, I'm not-
why don't
no.
you learn a few facts?
No, I'm not mocking. But anyway, he when he graduated from Oxford, he goes off to, America, South America, and starts mixing with all this Che Guevara mob,
Oh, yeah.
all those sort of deadbeats and all that kind of stuff. And then he makes his way up the Americas through Mexico and all that, and he ends up in California. And he's coming up a road in California, and a load of blokes stop and give him a lift.
Yeah.
And they've been to San Francisco, but they're now decamping to somewhere else, like
okay.
like Los
Santa
Angeles
Fe or
something.
somewhere.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh well, look, you've gone to San Francisco, man. Hey, man, the peace and love, man, and all that." They said, "Go and see this lady here. She's great." And they gave him an address.
Yeah.
And he went to San Francisco, went near Haight-Ashbury. He knocked on the door, and the woman who answered the door was Janis Joplin.
Oh, you told me this. He ended up having a long sort of affair with her.
He had a 15-month affair with Janis Joplin. Amazing. He was going to come back to Britain, but he stayed with her. She had a little A40 Austin English car.
Did he buy her a Mercedes-Benz then?
No, he didn't know. But he became her road manager when she was a nobody and saw her develop into a world star. And then she died. Yeah. You know, the curse of Haight-Ashbury.
Indeed. Yeah. He didn't know. Losty says this. I thought Porky said people who go to barbecues are half-bakes. Is he insulting himself and his family?
No. Go to barbecues. Yeah. But I mean, if a barbecue's there and it's happening, then obviously I'm not going to be, the man who ruins the ambience of the afternoon, am I?
Here's one from Joe who says Willie Nelson wrote "Crazy" as sung by Patsy Cline.
Crazy.
The story goes that he sold it for $50.
I'm crazy.
He's crazy to sell it for $50.
Can't live
Are you listening to what I'm saying?
You.
Are you
How
listening?
can you sell a song for $50?
Well, maybe
if you write it, you retain
not necessarily.
the copyright to it all your
not true.
life.
Well, that's not true because look what happened to Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney didn't have the copyright of the Beatles songs, did he? Because he sold them all to Northern Songs.
No.
He gave them all away.
No, actually, it's different. I understand what you're saying. Paul McCartney owns the copyright of every song he writes, but he doesn't own the publishing rights. And it's different, if you see what I mean.
Well, there we are. Anyway, he could have sold the song for $50 if he was a nobody. Yeah, he might have just said, he might have run into Patsy Cline and said, do you want this song?
I mean, he could have signed the copyright away, I suppose, you know. But it's like anything you write and publish, it's your copyright. So, you know, if I wrote a sports book with a football or something like that, we own the copyright between us, and nobody can lift it and put it in the paper unless they pay us serial rights and that kind of stuff.
How about this?
The publishing rights are a different matter.
Yeah, Matt says Nelson wrote "All Was on My Mind," so maybe it was Elvis who recorded Willie Nelson's song.
Oh, I see. So we're saying that's his song, which Elvis did a cover of, but a much, much better cover, obviously.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
oh, come on, the Elvis version of "You Were Always on My Mind." Yeah. You were always on my mind.
Floyd is asking, what was the name of the Paisley book, please? Because he wants to get his hands on it.
The Paisley book.
Can you pass that on?
Yes. Quiet Genius, Bob Paisley, British football's greatest manager. It's written by the distinguished sporting journalist Dean Herbert.
Dean Herbert?
No, Ian Herbert.
Ian Herbert works for the Independent, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he does.
Yeah.
And it's published by Bloomsbury Sport, okay? And it'll cost you £20, by the way.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. They never call you that, will they? Quiet Genius.
Well,
quiet. One, you're not quiet. And two, you're not a genius.
No, excuse me. Quiet, no. Why should you be quiet? If you've got things to say and you can help the world.
Well, maybe you could learn something from Bob Paisley.
Oh, yeah, like what?
Like being quiet and being a genius. And not shouting from the rooftops about how brilliant you are every 5 minutes.
I'm going to be fascinated reading the whole book to find out how he emerged from this, this terribly timid man who basically just put out the cones and did everything that Bob Paisley told him to do into the genius who won, was it 3 or 4 European Cups? 3.
Oh, yeah.
He won 3 European Cups because didn't Joe Fagan win the 4th one? Yeah, I think he did.
I think so. Yeah. Kevin says this, Mike Parry will be glad to know there's a new Willie Nelson album out today called God's Problem Child. Seems to be quite apt.
Really? God's Problem Child? Yeah. That kind of sums up Willie Nelson. He's 84.
Well, he's sold a lot more albums than you have.
Well, of course he has. I'm not a musician.
Yeah, right.
But I bet he's not spent as many hours, behind a microphone, dishing out, wisdom and knowledge to the world.
Well, I think he spent a lot of time behind a microphone, actually. That's what he does for a living.
These garbage songs.
Yeah, that's what he does for a living. Yeah. And he's done it much more successfully than you have. Well, Jim says this, I'm not sure we want to see Mr. Parry turn on, tune in and drop out. No, I don't either. I would quite like to see him under the influence of something other than the Pinot Grigio, though. But this is Talk Sport.
They had a great lifestyle, those guys.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics on the warm-up. Celtic have just gone 2 up in Ibrox. More misery for a Rangers fan, I'm afraid. It doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon. We've got lots more coming up, of course, in the show. Adrian Durham takes over at 1 o'clock with Matchday Live. Right now, though, it's time for us to talk to the editorial director of the Sunday Times, and that is, of course, Eleanor Mills. Eleanor, very good afternoon to you.
Yes, hello. How are you all?
Very well indeed. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Now, this is when we ask you what exciting things we've got coming up in the Sunday Times tomorrow. And I understand you've got a rather interesting interview with Queen Rania of Jordan.
We have. On the cover of the magazine tomorrow, we've got Queen Rania of Jordan, probably the most influential Muslim woman in the world, 8.6 million Instagram followers.
Golly.
Wow.
Yeah. She's like the Michelle Obama of the Middle East.
Right.
Yeah. And she's interesting because she comes from a refugee family herself. Her parents were Palestinian and had to flee Kuwait, actually, during the first Gulf War.
Right. Yeah.
And she then worked for Apple, and she met the future king at a dinner party and married him. So she's a very kind of unlikely
Yes.
Sort of unlikely
And
queen.
and are they seen as a sort of modernising pair in that region as well?
Yes, I think we could say that they were the antithesis to Assad and his wife, who was once famously dubbed by Vogue the queen, the flower of the desert.
That's right.
Not so great anymore.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, they've managed to turn the whole country into a desert, haven't they? And there's not many flowers growing.
The amazing thing about Jordan, Eleanor, is that in the midst of the Middle East, which is a tinderbox at the best of times, Jordan has largely remained neutral, hasn't it, from all the terror of the wars that have gone on over the last 30 years?
It's remained neutral. The king and queen are very popular, and they've also been incredibly generous to the refugees fleeing around them because they're right in the middle. I mean, they're in a kind of crucible of war and chaos, and they've taken in the percentage of refugees in Jordan is the equivalent of Britain taking in the entire population of Holland. And unlike many countries in the region, Jordan's not rich. They don't have oil wealth and that kind of thing. So they're having to borrow huge amounts of money to keep all these Syrian refugees. And I think they really have done an incredible job. And I think it's partly because she really feels it. Her parents have been refugees, and I think she really has a moral compass. I was really impressed by her. She doesn't speak like a queen. She's coming to England this week to speak at the Google Zeitgeist conference.
Excellent.
And she's really an ambassador for a very kind of different kind of modern Muslim forward-looking woman. I found her very impressive.
And she met Melania Trump recently as well, I think earlier this month. Did she say anything about that?
She was quite interesting about that. She obviously loved Michelle Obama, but she said that she and Melania had some chats about what it was like to suddenly be thrust into that kind of situation. Because of course, Queen Rania wasn't brought up thinking that she was going to be queen, and I don't think Melania, when she grew up in Eastern Europe, ever thought that she was going to be First Lady of the United States. So I think it is quite interesting, these women who come from quite humble backgrounds and end up so kind of rich, powerful beyond their wildest dreams, but also quite trapped by the life that they then have to live.
Absolutely, and the influence they have. Now, just moving on here, Eleanor, you're obviously far, far too young to ever remember the Summer of Love, which is being celebrated for its 50th anniversary in San Francisco this summer. But I understand that London are very low now on the hipness index that you've got.
Yeah, well, I've got a rather interesting piece, another piece in the magazine by Alex Proud, who runs something called the Proud Galleries and lots of nightclubs in London. He used to hang out with the Libertines and Amy Winehouse and all those kind of people. And he's written quite a good piece for me, which is basically saying that London has got so expensive, and also that the kind of crackdown on nightclubs and particularly in nightlife has become so extreme. They've shut so many places. The Astoria's given way for the new Crossrail, that actually there's no point if you're a young, hip, groovy person who wants to make it in a creative industry or find the new scene. There's no point in coming to London anymore.
So where'd you
go?
go?
Priced out. You have to go and live way out in the suburbs. But he's saying actually the places that they're going now are places like Margate in Kent, Birmingham, Bristol.
What? Margate?
Margate.
Let's have a night out in Margate instead of the West End.
Some of the coastal. I mean, Hastings has got some very trendy bits of it as well now.
It's also got a load of dossers who sleep on the beach.
Well, it has, but that's what makes it hip, because you can't have...
that's real hip.
What you don't want to do is... You see, the trouble with Porky, Eleanor, is that he doesn't understand hip. He thinks that being hip just means having loads of money and a funny haircut. What it actually means is walking around in warehouse-type environments.
Well, like Peace and Love Man and all that?
No, that was a long time ago.
A bit of creativity.
Yeah, a bit of creativity. Bit of art.
Being able to live cheaply enough to be able to kind of pursue your passion, and you certainly can't do that in London anymore.
No, you can't.
Places in Margate, what you want is some nice architecture, somewhere nice, but for it to be pretty cheap to live, so that you can concentrate on writing your own or drawing your picture.
It's why Berlin is still very cool.
Yeah, well,
because you go to Berlin and hang out with all the people on the east side of the wall.
And they can afford to live there.
Yeah,
the problem with London is that it's a bit like Manhattan or the centre of Paris. It's now become a centre for rich, 40, 50-somethings who've made it. And actually, it's not very cool and hip anymore because no one who's really cool and hip can afford to be anywhere near it.
Exactly.
And even places like Hackney or Shoreditch or those other kind of bits of East London, which were once a kind of byword for hipster, they're now also incredibly expensive. So the new hipsters are having to go somewhere else.
Well,
so Birmingham,
Manchester,
it's really interesting, I think, but it's also a problem for London because we're not going to be a beacon to the whole world and have loads of people wanting to come.
Well, that's it,
there.
and you don't want it to be full of, and you don't want it just to be full of wealthy people from the Middle East, Russia, and China.
I think wealthy people are good people.
But that's what makes you sad.
What?
That's what makes you sad.
How dare you?
You think money improves people. Now, I suppose it's one of those periods as well, Eleanor, in the news generally, where we've got an election coming up, and so it sort of sucks all the energy out of all other news, doesn't it? And people get a bit tired of it. But I dare say there'll be some political stuff on the front pages.
There'll be more politics, definitely, and I think that but I do think that people feel a bit bored by this election, don't they?
Well, we shall look forward to seeing it all in the Sunday Times
Indeed.
tomorrow. Eleanor, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much indeed.
Mills, editorial director of the Sunday Times. Celtic just hit the post, by the way.
It was incredible.
And then the second shot
Just
missed by a whisker.
Yeah.
I got a feeling this is going to be quite a high-scoring game.
Yeah, I think it hit the bar, actually, but it whacked off it at an incredible rate. It was, mate, just before that, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, it was a terribly harsh tackle by a Celtic player on a Rangers player. I didn't quite see who it was, because it was in this corner of my eye, and there's a lot of people jumping up and down about that. So your prediction about a red card may be getting closer.
It may well indeed. Dave says, come on Everton, come on Millwall, come on you Spurs.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I think
Come on Klitschko.
well, he's saying, I think he likes the Toffees and the Lions.
Thank you. Yeah, well, the Lions, what the Lions got to do with it?
That's Millwall.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, they're irrelevant.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
They're not irrelevant. I was saying earlier, well, you're not listening, that they are now in playoff position, and hopefully after tomorrow we'll still be in playoff position.
Okay, fair enough.
And as my local team in London, I'm batting for them. I'm hoping that they do well and get promoted.
The joke.
Why wouldn't I want to do that?
The point is, over the next 36
my
hours...
consistency is equalled only by your inconsistency.
Over the next 36 hours, the three big sporting issues are going to be decided in favour of Klitschko, in favour of Everton and in favour of Spurs.
Well, you keep saying that, but we're going to talk about Spurs, actually, with a very influential Spurs fan, Mr. Pete Abbott, because Spurs apparently have decided to go and play at Wembley
They've issued a statement.
next season. There's only 2 games left at White Hart Lane.
That's right, they've issued a statement saying
Could it be the biggest blunder of their lives?
They are exercising the option to go and play there.
Yeah.
Well, I assumed it was going to happen because where else? Milton Keynes?
Well,
what are you going to do? Ask Spurs fans to troll all the way up to Milton Keynes every fortnight.
I don't think they'd fancy it, but maybe they could have organised it better the way that somehow Liverpool did. I don't know.
Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Where is my mind?
It's like Rangers have actually made their way up to the other end of the pitch for the first time in the game, but they still haven't scored. It's all looking a bit like one-way traffic, isn't it, really?
Brutally one-way,
Now, a couple of quick announcemements for you. One from a guy who says... he doesn't say who his name is, actually. He says, hi, guys, listening live in Virginia Beach. Can I get a shout-out from my wife, Heather, who's turning 41 tomorrow?
Right.
Actually, it's from Jorge. He says she loves the show.
Jorge.
So her name is, of course, Heather.
Heather.
Yeah.
What is it, 41?
41, yeah.
Very happy 41st, Heather. I hope you have a long and prosperous life, starting now.
All right. Johnny says, could I please get a 23rd birthday mention today? As a loyal listener, I deserve the £10 Porky surcharge being waived.
Oh, really?
Well, that was never really a thing.
No.
I mean, that was...
But if you don't want to send us a tenner for a quick drink after the show.
I mean, Porky actually did try and hope that it would be something that he could get 10 quid from full people, but I'm afraid not.
That gentleman's name? 23?
The 23 was Johnny.
Johnny, happy birthday, my friend.
Now, Pete Abbott is here. And
the number of my house, 23. 23
why is that of any interest to anyone?
Yeah, I just thought it would be.
You know the classic traits of narcissism, right?
What's that?
Whenever anybody says anything, you have to turn it around into a story about yourself.
Well, I'm very aware of things.
Just because it's some guy's 23rd birthday, you say... I used to live at house number 23.
Yeah, that's right.
Incredible.
Right, let's talk to
Pete
Pete.
Abbott, who's slightly older than 23, is, of course, as I said earlier, a very influential man at Tottenham Hotspur. He is, of course, nothing less than the announcer at the stadium. Now, presumably, you're going to be the announcer at Wembley next year because they've just agreed to go to Wembley.
Well, I hope so. Nobody's actually told me that yet.
Nobody said that.
Not so far.
Do you think you have to
but
change?
It's probably early days.
I mean, have you done the European stuff
Yeah, I
there?
did all the Champions League games there. So, I'm assuming that they will.
Do you need a sort of slightly
season.
different tone when you're doing it at Wembley? Or because
No,
it's a bigger place?
So. No, I don't think so. It's you pretty much do the same job wherever you are. I mean, it's just that it is much bigger, and it's the sound around Wembley really reverberates. If you're down by pitch side, it's you can really hear it echoing around
booming
the stadium.
out.
Yeah.
Now, apart from that, Pete, you are of course a Spurs fan.
Yep.
So, what is your reaction? I couldn't see that they could go anywhere else, but of course, people are talking about the curse of Wembley for Spurs.
Well, yeah, I mean, it really was a no-brainer because you can't go anywhere else. I mean, Milton Keynes was mooted at one point, but I actually had to go there a couple of weeks ago, and it's a long, long way to go.
Yeah.
You don't realise how far out of London Milton Keynes is.
Halfway to Birmingham, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So really, I mean, Wembley was really the only option, and it was just a question of when they were going to play that season. And obviously, they've now obviously consulted with the builders who are building the new stadium and have been assured that it will be ready on time for the season after next. So they've made that decision now to go to Wembley next year.
What about the fears it affects their form?
Well, I mean, anywhere away from White Hart Lane would possibly have that effect. I mean, I know, the record, people will look at the record at Wembley and say...
It's only 2 wins out of 10 games, isn't it?
But, I mean, that stretches back quite some time. I mean, you look at this season... I think there's one win, 1 draw, and 3 defeats, which isn't great in itself, but it's maybe better.
And also
than it
the
has been in
Monaco
the
game,
past.
which everybody moaned about in the beginning. I mean, look where Monaco are now. I mean, they're not exactly a bad team, are they?
Yeah, the best team I've seen live this season.
Yeah.
They were absolutely brilliant that night. The Spurs didn't play too badly that night, actually, but Monaco were very, very good, and it's no surprise to see them in the semi-finals now of the Champions League. But it's something that Spurs are going to have to get used to. It's. I think Teddy Sheringham actually on this station last night made the point that it's much easier for the opposition because it's a one-off game for them and it's a one-off game at Wembley, whereas Spurs have to do it week after week after week. So I think that's going to be the difficulty of it. But there's nothing they can do about it. They're going to have to play this season at Wembley, so they're going to have to find a way of winning there.
And how are they going to handle the extra ticketing and all of that? Because obviously, I mean, we were talking just the other week about how many people are on the waiting list now for a season ticket.
It's tens of thousands.
Oh, it is,
65,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
Are they going to start issuing season tickets to fill the extra seats at Wembley, or are they going to sell them individually, or what?
I've no idea how that works out, to be honest. Presumably, they will have made some sort of prior arrangements, but I mean, given the announcement to play at Wembley was only made yesterday, those details presumably haven't come out yet. But I mean, it's going to be no problem filling it. I mean, Spurs filled it for all the Champions League games, and even it was even full for the Europa League game against pretty average opposition. So I don't think it's going to be a problem selling out at Wembley.
And as far as the whole kind of White Hart Lane experience goes, I mean, obviously by the time you go back there, it's going to be quite a different looking setup.
3 times as big, isn't it, the new stadium? It's massive.
It is. I mean, it already looks amazing. It's already bigger than the existing stadium.
Yeah.
And
well, you said that when you went up there, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right.
That you saw how
towers
massive
over
it
you.
was,
Yeah.
I mean, and it's going to be every time you go there. Actually, you can see the work that's gone on in the past few days, and it's getting bigger by the day almost. So obviously they've had assurances from the builders that it's going to be ready on time. So I think everybody's looking forward to that. It's going to be a little bit weird saying goodbye to White Hart Lane, but I think with this new stadium and the fact that you can actually see it from the existing ground now, rising from the ashes almost. I think everybody's looking forward to getting into that new stadium.
Oh, it'd be fabulous when you get in there.
Going to be exciting times.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, mate.
Got another little announcement here from Richard.
Oh, yes.
He says, how about a mention for GB's ice hockey team going for gold against Japan tonight?
Yeah.
Your mate Rod's lad Liam is playing.
He is, yeah,
so
indeed.
he's playing for Team GB.
Hey,
in
listen.
the ice hockey.
Go, GB.
You're not a big fan of ice hockey, are you?
I certainly am.
Oh, now you are?
Yeah.
So now you love ice hockey.
What do you mean?
Well, I was trying to explain to you all about the NHL over in America.
Yes,
the North
I know all about
American Hockey League, which is a very exciting game, which is now played by many
Fantastic.
people in this
Love
country
it,
as
love
well.
it.
So
Yeah.
that's so you'll be all right if we start giving NHL updates.
I think we should.
During the season.
I bet you haven't seen the top Moscow ice hockey team in action, have you? Like I have.
Hey?
Went with Peter Hitchens.
When?
Peter Hitchens and I went to see the top ice hockey team in Moscow playing one night.
So change this into another story about you.
No.
You've done it again.
No.
I'm going to start pointing
well,
this
hang
out.
on. How many ice hockey games have you been to?
I've only been to one, and it was the New York Rangers game when I was living in America.
Yes,
which was
okay.
great because there was lots of fights, and that's why people go.
Of course they
and not
do,
only
yeah.
were there fights on the ice, there were also fights in the crowd.
Terrific skill involved as well, though.
There
Because
is.
remember, there's 2 disciplines there. You've got to be able to skate very well as be able to play very well at that particular skill of hockey. So imagine combining football on skates, right? And that's what you're talking
Who's
about.
your favourite ice hockey player?
My favourite?
Yeah.
Ice hockey player?
Yes.
Do you mean worldwide?
Yeah.
Worldwide?
Yeah.
I don't want to commit myself because
You're not going to say
think...
Liam Stewart.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Up and coming.
Okay.
Up and coming.
Somebody says from Hull, the traffic announcement needs changing. Hessel is west of Hull, not east. What do you make of that?
I have no idea because I wasn't listening to the
It's a
traffic
city
announcement.
of culture.
So
That's all we know.
I'm really sorry about that. Now, listen, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about.
Yeah, go on.
Did you tell me in passing, or was I dreaming it this morning when we were preparing this show,
Yes.
that your dinner last night was actually prepared by your son?
That's right, yeah, my 12-year-old, yeah, because at school he has a food technology course, right, where he's been making different things. It started off with, he started making sort of a salad, and then he started making some desserts. Yesterday, he was tasked with making spag bol.
Right.
And he had to bring in all
My
the
favourite
ingredients.
dish,
I know.
spag bol.
He had to bring in all the ingredients, had to cook it, and he got told off, apparently, because his mother had suggested to him that if he didn't fancy chopping up the onions, he could grate the onions, right? And he started grating the onions, and some ridiculously officious person who was in charge...
In the kitchen at school?
In the kitchen at school.
Yes.
Said, you can't grate the onions.
Why?
Because this is going to be an exercise in cutting and chopping.
Why?
So he said, well, all right then. And then he said, you've got to throw away all the stuff you've already grated. So he got in a row with them,
Well,
which I was
what?
quite pleased about, actually, because I said, well, why would they want you to throw it away?
Ridiculous.
That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so he was forced to do that. But so he brought the spag bowl home.
Yes.
We made the spaghetti sideways, to the side, and then we ate his spaghetti bolognese, which was very good.
All four of you?
Well, actually, it was more than that
5?
because my daughter was
Yeah,
there as well.
okay, yeah, great.
It was
Very
great.
good.
Very
Enough
good.
to go around, was there?
There was.
Oh, that's excellent. Okay. Now, I'll tell you why that is perhaps
There was
good
quite a
sign.
bit left over as well, actually.
Oh, well, I might drop in sometime.
Yeah, well, don't make a habit of it.
That's nice, isn't it? A new report I've read this morning says that a modern young man now will no longer boast, when you meet a girlfriend for the first time, no longer boasts about how good you are at DIY.
Yes.
Oh, can I change your plug for you, like in the old days?
Right.
Oh, is that shelf faulty? Let me fix it for you. Oh, you've got a leak in your radiator.
Change your plug. That sounds like one of your lines.
Yeah,
change your plug for you.
Yeah. Oh, you've
Have you
got
heard Elvis is dead?
That's right, yeah. Oh, you've got a leaky radiator. Shall I fix that for you?
Yeah.
Now it is, I tell you what, want to invite me home, I'll do you a quick lasagna.
Yeah.
Apparently, boast about your culinary skills.
Well, do you know what
and
that
is a thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing that modern woman is most impressed about modern man. Can he cook?
Well, there are many situations now where you go to people's houses for dinner,
Yes.
and the cooking is actually being done by the man. And the woman is doing all the other stuff, that quite often, because a lot more men now are into cooking. It's no longer seen as something that only women should be doing.
I mean,
and also the advent of things like MasterChef and the Great British
precisely.
Bake Off and all that. They've become so popular,
Yes.
right? That all the kids watch them. They all want to make stuff.
All the top, no, not all, but at least half, perhaps more, of the top-selling authors in culinary matters and cookery are men.
Yes.
There's only Mary Berry, isn't there, really, and Prue Leith and all that kind of lot.
Well, there's a few.
But do you think of the number of male chefs there are?
But that's always been the case, hasn't it, really?
What happens now is, when I'm reading through my journal sometimes, you get these, these people who are quizzed on their lifestyles and all that, and quite often they mention some chef I've never heard of.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many of them now.
Yeah.
And listen, the other thing that I've come across, and this really...
Well, you need to up your culinary skills then, don't you, really?
Oh, no, I'm okay.
Well, yeah, but you can't really rustle up much, can you?
Spag bol.
Spag bol's fine, but not everybody wants to eat that, because also you need to have a vegetarian dish that you can make as well.
Tell you what I love.
Not everybody eats meat anymore.
Bangers and mash. Well, funny you should say...
Not much involved in cooking bangers and mash.
No, funny you should say about...
Buy the smash packet.
About vegetables. Now, this has gone too far, right? Listen to this. Forget the burgers this summer at the barbecue. So, barbecue with me tomorrow.
Yep.
The new in thing, right, which is pathetic in my view.
Why?
Is to replace the burger in the bun with a slice of cauliflower.
Cauliflower? That's mad.
It says stores are tapping into a move away from red meat by offering specialist vegetarian products, and slices of cauliflower are being sold individually to be char-grilled as an alternative to burgers, while chunks of the vegetables are being dressed up as buffalo chicken wings.
What?
So instead of buffalo chicken wings, the certain trendy shops are shaping things like, carrot and all that to look the same shape as chicken wings. This is madness gone mad.
That,
I mean,
madness gone mad is right.
Yeah.
Well, is it not also hot on the heels of? Did somebody not suggest to us that you can buy now what's called sort of almost like cauliflower rice? So you use it as an accompaniment, like the same way you can get courgettes made into spaghetti.
Absolutely.
Courgettini, I think.
I mean, look, I love cauliflower.
Yeah.
Providing it's on roast beef and gravy. You know what I mean?
Or cauliflower cheese.
Or cauliflower cheese with gammon. Absolutely
gammon.
lovely. But to
Why
slice
just gammon with it?
Oh, I love gammon. Cauliflower cheese.
No.
But to slice a bit of cauliflower and put it onto the barbecue.
Yeah.
And it says here, listen, it says here, along with the cauliflower and Buffalo.
Yeah.
Waitrose is also selling sweet potato burgers.
Oh, yeah.
So that's 2 bits of bread
Not
with
keen
sweet
on
potato in the middle.
Yeah.
Portobello mushroom burgers.
Now, those I've seen in restaurants.
Oh,
That's horrible as well. It's just like
lovely.
eating a mushroom.
Eh?
It's just like one big mushroom.
Yeah,
what
I
it
know. How horrible is that? Make me ill. That would make me ill.
Yeah.
Pass the sick bucket, Alice, you know. And finally,
Yeah.
the vegetable and halloumi skewers.
Oh, yeah.
Have you had a halloumi skewer?
Well, I've never had a halloumi skewer, but I have had halloumi, which is not a
What
bad...
is halloumi?
It's cheese.
Eh?
It's cheese.
Cheese,
Yeah.
good
It's a sort of
God.
Middle Eastern cheese, which is all right. But, I mean, I wouldn't just want to eat it on its own.
Oh, here. Marks and Spencer's
Hmm.
have created the red lentil version of the traditional lamb kofta.
Yeah.
Eh?
Well, lamb kofta's
Hey.
always popular with me.
Red lentils. What
Yeah.
are they? They must taste like, honestly, they must taste like chewing cardboard, in
Yeah.
my view.
How about this one from Jason, who says, the man who must not be named is judging on MasterChef next week. What does he know about cooking egg and chips?
Yeah, well, he knows nothing.
Well, what does he know about tipping?
Absolutely.
That's another story.
Apparently, we're all now
Seen the time.
flexitarian. We're flexitarian.
Flexitarian.
One meal out of 2 is vegetarian for
I would-
most people now.
I would say that's
Forget
not
that.
the case in
Not
my
for me.
in my situation.
Not
but,
for me.
but I must say I don't eat as much red meat as I used to. I eat quite a lot of fish.
I eat
quite a lot
lots of
chicken.
fish.
Well, you
lots
eat
of
fish and chips about 4 times a week, don't you?
No, because I only allow myself chips on a Friday.
Really?
The rest of the time, I have other
What
forms
a load
of
of
fish.
rubbish that
No,
is.
No.
Absolute
No,
cobblers.
it's not.
TalkSport is now twice the size and absolutely free. TalkSport 2 is the home of Super League, Premiership, Rugby, La Liga and so much more. And you can tune in right now by retuning your DAB or by downloading the TalkSport app. There's a fantastic variety of live sport on TalkSport 2 today. Stoke face West Ham in the Premier League from 3. And this evening, it's live La Liga action as Espanyol take on Barcelona. And don't forget, TalkSport 2 has dedicated shows devoted to European football, golf, racing, cricket and more. Whatever and whoever you follow, listen to TalkSport 2. Very busy day coming up on the old football front. It's all 3 o'clock kickoffs this afternoon, aren't they?
Yep.
Although I have to say, looking at the 3 o'clock kickoffs this afternoon, I was reminded that, sometimes when people say, oh, yeah, the Premier League, the best league in the world, I mean, there's not one of those games that I'm getting particularly excited about.
No, I have to say,
Southampton Hull City,
Yep.
Stoke West Ham,
Yes.
Sunderland Bournemouth,
Yes.
West Brom Leicester, Crystal Palace Burnley. I mean, all their fans, of course, will be up for it.
They,
and it'll be very exciting. But
they all look very low rent, don't they?
well, they sort of do,
You know
don't
what
they?
I mean?
I mean,
Yeah.
tomorrow's the day, isn't it,
Yes,
really? Man United,
yes.
Swansea, Everton, Chelsea, which would be great.
I know.
Middlesbrough, Manchester City, Spurs, Arsenal.
If you're a football fanatic, that's 6 hours of, quality games,
Yeah.
which are all going to have some influence
Yeah.
and some effect on the top of the Premier League.
You'll be worthless by the end of all that, won't you?
No, what do you mean?
You'll be completely ruined after an afternoon
What are
of
you
sort
talking
of, barbecuing and sashaying around down in Stockbroker Belt, Surrey,
I don't know what you're
with
talking
your
about.
family.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And, well, you know what I mean. You'll be stuck into the Vino at midday. When
I
you
might
to
have
watch-
a drink. Yeah, I might have a
watch
drink.
Man
Watch the
United
game.
to Swansea. So by the time Tottenham and Arsenal have finished, it's a 4:30 kickoff.
How dare
By
you
sort of
say
half past
things like that?
6.
Honest to God.
They'll have to send you home in a taxi.
No, don't be ridiculous. I will probably get a taxi home, as I usually
Taxi
do.
for Mike Parry.
Taxi for Mike Parry. That's right, yeah.
Once the insults start flying.
And then if I can remember the route home.
Well, hopefully you get somebody who knows the way.
Yeah, that's a joke. It's a
Yeah,
joke,
of course.
honestly.
Absolutely right.
Right.
Now, somebody has done you up as a hippie. Stefan.
Oh, yeah, let's have a
says,
look.
Of course, Porky was a hippie. Look at this picture.
Yeah, let's have a look.
That's quite good, isn't it?
I quite like that. That's me as...
You look a bit like Axl Rose,
no,
actually.
that's Willie Nelson. They put me on Willie Nelson's head, haven't they?
Yeah, I think
my
so.
face on Willie Nelson's head. What
Yeah.
did he give for my face? That
Absolutely
boy?
right.
Yeah.
Now, here's one from Arsenal Mike.
Okay.
He says, homemade grated cauliflower rice is fabulous. Lightly fried in a bit of stock.
Forget
Gorgeous. I'm a convert.
Forget it. Oh, forget it. Talking about Holmes, by the way,
Yeah.
and ahead of that big fight tonight, I was listening to old Anthony, Joshua.
Yes.
And he says he will live at home with his mum indefinitely as long as he likes.
Right.
But it might not be the current ex-council flat that they live
Yes,
in now
right.
when he gets 15 million quid.
So he'll always have her around, as it were.
Well-
he's banned her from the fight tonight, hasn't he?
Yes, that's
He
right,
says
yeah.
he doesn't think it's a place for his mum to be.
No, that's right. But he made a very interesting observation. I mean, he will get a big grand house, and you would assume, like, with a granny flat type extension thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because obviously he'll have relationships, and his mum will want a bit of a separate life and all that. Except that he said, I might get that situation. He said, but actually what'll happen is my mum will live in the big house, and I will live in the granny flat.
Yes.
Because that's how I feel comfortable, and,
Right.
I don't want big rooms around me and all that kind
Sure.
of stuff. And you see his point.
He's a very
See
well...
how grounded you can
he
be
seems
when
a very
you-
well-balanced young man, doesn't he?
Well, old Ronaldo likes having his mum around. There was even a famous picture of her, rubbing his back with oil, wasn't there, when he was on holiday and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And if that makes you calm and you feel safe and, protected, with the childhood instincts that your mother gives you, then why should you? Why should you break with convention and say, I better go move into the £15 million house and mum can stay there, or I'll buy one in the grounds or something like that.
Although I suppose he might
So
find
you've
that
got
he does need some privacy once he becomes massively.
Well, of course
he's already pretty big now, but
Yes.
the more famous you become,
Yes.
I think the more likely you need some place to get away from everybody else.
You could well be right.
Now it is time for this.
Yes.
You know what that means, don't you?
Yes.
And we haven't got very long, so
No.
we're going to have to be very quick here.
Indeed.
Because not only do we have to do a 1 minute moan, but we
Yeah.
also have to have enough time for Ross
Yes.
behind the glass there to judge it.
Yes.
It's already 12-5 to me.
Okay.
So there's a massive deficit.
Yeah, you keep making that up every week.
No, it's not incorrect. Would you like to go first?
I'll let you go first.
I will go first. Do you
Okay.
want to start me off then?
I'll start you off. Okay, can we count down, please, to the clock? A 3, a 2, a 1.
We have wasted billions and billions and billions of pounds on our banking system, right? We've now got apps that we can use to access our money.
Right.
We've now got many, many different online methods of getting online and moving money around, so you don't have to go to a bank anymore. They're actually
Yep.
closing down
Yep.
more bank branches. I got a letter just the other day telling me that the bank branch that I started my account in about 40 years ago
Right.
is finally now closing down
Yes.
because there's no more need for it, right?
Okay.
They are shutting banking opportunities in most villages and most places. People can't go to a bank anymore.
Yeah.
They have to rely on the online banking system, right?
Okay.
Unfortunately, most people yesterday weren't able to use the online banking system
Okay.
because of a computer glitch. So if you happen to bank with NatWest or Lloyds or in fact several others, Halifax as well, you weren't able to get out your money. Now, it was payday for most people who wanted to go out for a drink. They couldn't use any of their cards because the money had simply disappeared from their accounts.
Yes.
The banking system in this country is an absolute and utter disgrace.
Yes.
I think it's time somebody got a grip of it
Yeah.
because, we've been giving them loads of money. We allow them to dictate everything that we do in life,
Yeah.
and I think it's an absolute shambles.
Right, okay, thank
That's
you very
my
much.
moan.
That's your moan,
Yeah.
okay. That was about banking, okay?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, not too individual, that in my view.
Well, I don't care what your view is
Okay.
because you're not the one that judges it.
Okay.
You're also 12-5 down.
Oh, yeah, well, I won't be for long.
Yeah.
Not with that sort of
No,
pathetic
you're right.
effort.
It's going to be 13-5 in a minute.
Right.
Go on.
You've got to count me down.
Oh, have I?
Yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Go.
Right, I want to know when America, right, who are the policemen of the world, are going to admit to the greatest act of genocide in the history of mankind,
Oh, yeah.
in the history of humanity. I've come across a new book.
It's not really a moan,
called,
this, is it?
It's called The Earth is Weeping, the epic story of the Indian Wars for the American West. Do you know what the Americans did to the Native Americans?
everybody knows.
It is an absolute disgrace, and this book that I've obtained gives further evidence of the
Dear
massacre,
God.
of the horror, of the wiping out of cultural tribes. It's been around for 2,000 years on what we now call the United States of America. It's all very well for Mr. Trump, Donald Trump, the president, to send his aircraft carriers around the world to say we are going to legislate against bad people. But you have bad people amongst you, Mr. Trump, and they wiped out the North American native
What the hell has
Indians.
gone wrong with you?
Excuse me, it's something you've never admitted to. You've never held your hands
course
up
they
to.
have.
You owe those people billions in compensation. You pushed them off those lands that they lived in, put them on reservations.
I've already
You
won this, by the way,
starved them.
before you finished.
You starved them. You
It's all
bullied
over.
them. You put them out
It's
in
all
fields.
over. I've just been told I've already won it.
No.
That was pathetic.
No, it wasn't.
Absolute rubbish.
It was a huge
Absolute cobblers.
issue which most people are
No,
not aware
first of all,
but they are now.
First of all, everybody's aware of it.
No, they're
Second
not.
of all, yes, there has been compensation paid. And third,
No,
what do you
no.
think all the reservations are?
No.
The reservations are full of
And
Native
how do
American
people on reservations end up? Alcoholics,
Well,
broken
some of them-
alcoholics.
well, some of them do,
It's
but
an
the-
absolute. It's the greatest act of genocide
But
in the
some
history
of the
world.
richest, some of the richest parts of the entire world
Yeah.
are now Native American reservations. You know why?
Gambling.
Because they're allowed to have gambling. And so they've made a fortune.
And 1% of them are rich, and the rest are
Not true.
miserable. 99% miserable.
Anyway, that's 13-5.
No, it's not. No, it's not. We haven't had the result. I haven't heard the result. I haven't heard any result.
Well, would you
Excuse
like,
me.
would you like
I'd
Ross
like to be
tell you?
told. I'd like to be
Well,
told
no, he always
something.
tells the winner. He tells the winner.
Pathetic.
13-5. Absolute nonsense.
Absolute
Go and have some more
pathetic.
Benlin. This is Talk Sport.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The warm-up with the two mics on Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. I'm sick of the